Hi, Ben.
Hello, sir. How are we?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well, thank you. It is Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day. Welcome, everyone watching. This is from A
Labor
to
Day.
B. Say what?
Labor Day.
Oh, right, Labor Day. My bad.
It's all the same, but
Yeah, exactly. We don't really get. I mean, we did not do a show yesterday, but holidays don't really apply in the DFS world. It's like I work Thanksgiving and Christmas and have for the last 4 years. That's okay. This is from A to B, presented to you by Awesemo.com. This is our show that Ben and I talk about sports. Today, we're going to talk mostly about golf. This is generally the Tuesday show. This will be our preview of the upcoming week's tournament, just like our old show on FanVice. That is the idea for Tuesdays for us in general. It's a little weird of a schedule coming up because we got this week, then there's a week off, then there's the Tour Championship, and then another week off, and then the new season starts again. So we're going to get there, man. How was your weekend?
uh, it was all right. It was expensive. College football was off to a rocky start, not just in DFS. Terrible, terrible betting weekend for me. And that kind of makes sense, just the way this first week I based a lot on how I thought the games were going to play out with my lineups, and so I got it all wrong, and that was unfortunate, but it happens. What can you really do?
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
But
Exactly.
man, did I got it all wrong. Like it was even last night. The week ended perfectly. Florida State was blown out, and it was there were some weird ones. A lot of games where I watched a bunch of them. It felt like the team was, you look at the total yards, competitive, sometimes outgained them, and the scores. Not that they lost, they were mauled. Just turnovers, penalties, injuries. I caught the injury bug for DFS, which was kind of annoying. The golf was all right. How was your golf? Was it any fun?
It was okay. I didn't watch a lot yesterday. I watched a fair amount Saturday and Sunday. I only had about half the field Bryson exposure, and my highest stakes lineups were not great. And then my cash team caught a missed cut because Zach Johnson blew it down the stretch. So was not a great week for me. I almost hit an out in that second $5 tournament. I ended up coming in seventh in that, 10K for first, $350 for seventh. So it was not nearly enough to make up for some of the other bummers, but it could. I mean, I guess it could have been worse. How about you?
It,
You stayed out all right despite not having a ton of Bryson.
yeah, no, it was fine. I guess my expectations were a little raised. I was in really good position going into Monday, not just with where I stood. It was just I didn't have any real heavy placement points wrapped up. It was mostly raw points, and it just felt like it was going to be kind of a potentially good week. It didn't happen. Rose salvaged him coming. I don't want to say he backdoored second, but he kind of did.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I just the stupid. Not to complain, but the under 70 bonus once again killed me. Rose missed it on Sunday with a silly mistake on 18. Spieth had a 5-foot eagle putt to get his on Monday, missed that. And then, of course, Tony Finau just always gets the under 70 bonus. That makes a big difference when you're, small edges at the end there.
Yeah, it certainly does. Finau was weird. He did not actually score all that well for him, which is kind of strange. He did not, he didn't hit any. He got the under 70, but he didn't hit any streaks. Decky was the highest scorer, or the second highest scorer rather, after Bryson, obviously.
He went cyborg decky on Monday. He was just making it everything, and then he slowed down at the end. I thought he was, just going to put the smash and put the heat on and post like 15 under. Because he had rattled off, it was like 6 or 7 birdies in a row at one point.
Yep. Yeah, he had a pair of streaks and an eagle. You only get one streak per round, but certainly would have been live to get a few more.
Yeah, that
uh,
guy. I mean, we've seen that with him before. He's one of his best. You don't see it too often, but when he gets like that, it's pretty impressive to say. It's crazy how low he can go.
yeah, and because we haven't seen that since the Bridgestone last year, right? He did it. I think he did it 2 weeks in a row. Whatever. What was right before the Bridgestone? What is? I don't know. But I think he did two crazy nutty decky weeks in a row. But we haven't really seen that since. So Nice to see it back from him. Yeah, I didn't have a ton of Decky. I had a lot of Rose. I played nearly 40% of him, and that was helpful. But yeah, I didn't quite have all the pieces together for me. And that's because I only played 6% Bryson, and he was about 12% owned, so didn't have
Yeah,
a
I had
whole lot.
basically no Bryson. And I had good. It was just like many people, not the right combinations. I would have a Charlie Hoffman or JB Holmes on some teams, but to really get there, you obviously needed Bryson. I didn't have any. My cash team was good enough though, so that helped mitigate the damage.
Yep, that's always nice. I felt amazing about my cash team at first because I had Rose and Fleetwood in it, and Rose was not particularly popular in cash, and so I was kind of running. I was just destroying everybody in cash the first couple of days, but then, yeah, the ZJ miscut was pretty tough, and then Fleetwood went back a little bit. You and I both had 15, 18%, 1% owned JB Holmes, and that looked awesome for a while, and then he did JB stuff on.
And he made a 7. Yeah, that was terribly unfortunate. It comes with the territory with him. I thought we were really going to get paid off in full, and unfortunately not. It just couldn't hold it together. Ended up, doing really nothing.
Yeah.
Just there was a lot of that. I mean, that was, I think, the theme for me in the golf was my not that 6 of 6 was overly important, but I had almost no major miscuts. I just had too many guys that were not horrendous, but not good. The Patrick Reeds, the Roms, they were hovering around 6, 7 under, never really made a move. And every time it felt like they got momentum, they would just, make a crucial 3-putt or something stupid.
Yep. Yeah, I had a fair amount of DJ who was good, but not amazing for his price. JT stunk. I played a bit of him. That was not helpful. But I don't know. It was a fine tournament. We are continuing on. Again, this is the second to last event of the year. We are full on no cut, actual no cut this week. There's only 70 dudes left. Should be a good time. We are playing this at a not new course. It's been around for a long time, but they do not play here often. They played here. They played the AT&T National here twice, 10 years ago almost.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, don't know how much you're getting out of that. And it was redesigned in 2016. Do you want to talk about the course a little bit?
Sure. So let's see. Let me butcher this name. Where are we? It's like Adam something.
Yep.
But yeah, it's in in Pennsylvania. Basically, it's outside of Philly. Yep. Par 70. It's tricky. I feel like one of the mistakes I've made this year on a macro level is thinking that courses are going to be harder than they are. And this seems like it could be pretty challenging. There's long par 3s. There's only 2 par 5s, a lot of bunkers. There's some water. Having said that, we have 70 of the best players in the world. And scores have just been gettable the whole year. Even when it seems tough, unless you're going to the extreme, guys find a way to take advantage. So I'm not saying this is going to be a scoring fest, but at the same time, I'm tempering my expectations that this is a grinded out scramble fest. Guys making par is a good score.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think that makes sense. It does look kind of hard to me. They widen the fairways a lot, but 7,300 yards at par 70 is long. I think it's going to be a pretty tough course. So I'm with you there. We'll see how it goes. The word on the street, the quotes that I was reading from Future Fantasy from 2010 and 11 was that they have widened the fairways since then, but the rough was really bad back then. I don't know if that's changed. I'm sure we'll hear more about it coming up, but it sounds like the rough is pretty gnarly and you do not want to be in it. So
interesting. I saw, and again, very anecdotal, I saw a couple guys playing today, just little periscopes. It did not look punishing unless you're way offline.
Okay.
It looked like a generous first cut. But that was just a specific hole. We'll have to see. A couple housekeeping things. Berger pulled out right before the show, so he's gone. And DraftKings has now fixed it. They had put in the wrong top 70 guys, so they based it off before last week. So there's 5 or 6 guys who are now, they got the big red O next to them, and they added in Hat and Pan and the rest of the guys who made the move into the top 70.
Okay.
Because this morning I logged on and I was looking at the pricing, and first of all, I see Ryan Moore, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought he was out. Like, why do we have to deal with this? And then I didn't see Uline, and I was like, I thought that he had made it. Poor guy. Then I realized that this had happened, so
Yep.
should be all correct now.
But that Wadney won here the last time he was in.
Yeah,
I wonder if people still play. I mean, he won't. The O will make people know not to.
It's going to be a bold play. Very low ownership. I just think that, we talk about this when there's an unknown course, you kind of just have to embrace your lineups, link them together, and just hope that you get the right skill set. Because I really don't know how important scrambling is going to be. I really don't know how punishing taking driver off the tee is going to be here. I think you can make it a pretty good estimation of some of this stuff, but until they get out there, we're not going to know.
Right. No, it's true. I think it's a really good week to be doing stuff like that. I will probably build more of my lineups by hand, because when you use an optimizer, it's hard to, you can lock certain combinations and stuff like that, which I tend to do, or build like a certain player pool of certain types. And I think that's going to be a really good way to be building this week. So we'll see how it goes. We'll wonder, I wonder if this is a Jason Day course or not, because whatever happened last week, that
I did see somewhere in Twitter, he was testing out a bunch of new drivers today, because off the tee, he's having some issues right now.
Now it's been like 3 years.
Yeah, no, I was about to say that's never his strong suit, but I'll put it like this: he used to be able to get away with it because he never misses. Now he's starting to get punished a little. Yeah, I don't know. Ricky's back. I saw his presser this morning. Said he's good to go. Could have played last week. Decided to rest it. It's hard to really grasp where he's at. Who knows? The Ryder Cup is looming for all these guys. I'm sure part of their focus is there. If you can always win the FedEx Cup, but we'll see what they're really at this point.
Yeah, Ricky's plenty rich, but yeah, the $9,000 price tag and the potential lower ownership because he hasn't been around for a couple of weeks is pretty appealing for him. I will say Day in his closing holes did put a couple of birdies in there, so he closed the gap in our Day versus Spieth head-to-head. It was 14 at the time, just trying to make it a little closer. I think Spieth ended up beating him by 17 total. No big deal, but I was really hoping Spieth was going to go back 14 strokes on the weekend so I could pull that one off. But
not even a stroke a hole, amateur hour. Yeah, I mean, it was such a weird last thing, and then we'll get into this week, but it was just such a weird leaderboard. You had so many guys. At one point it was legitimately 15, 20 guys within 2 shots.
Yeah.
And it was some of them, like DJ was up there. He obviously had no chance because he had posted. And then you had the later groups who weren't even through some of the easier holes, and you knew they were going to make a move, but it was so crowded up top. It was interesting from a DFS perspective, just because you really weren't out of it. Depending on where it settled on, you knew that you could have 4 or 5 of those guys in lineups. It was possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a lot of plays that it switched around a lot, like what was kind of on. Which, hey, that's cool. That's an exciting thing about DFS. That's probably going to happen again this week because we don't have a cut. So plenty of dudes are live. Plenty of changes could happen. It might happen. It could. Plenty of things can still happen on Sunday, but a lot of good players, Ben. There's some expensive ones. We are led off by Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas. Rose is up to 11-2. We got Brooks, Rory, and Bryson is up to 10K. Bryson is more expensive than Jordan Spieth and Jason Day, and wow. Talk to me about the expensive guys. What do you think?
Well, so for me, last week I was really aggressive up top in the sense I didn't play any 0% of all the 11K. I got away with it. Not doing that again this week. Going to take positions on them. for sure, whether it's DJ or JT, even Brooks. I'm still, I think this is just a common theme. Give me the savings. There's just too many guys, and I don't see that much distinguishable gaps between them. So I will lean towards going more balanced. I have no problem. I'm sure I will be going back to Rory again. But unlike last week, I can already tell that I'm going to have a more rounded portfolio. I was really aggressive, and I was happy that it worked out fine in the sense they didn't win or anything. But with a purely non-cut, I think taking more nuanced positions is really what I'm going to do up top. The one guy, and Bryson obviously is just really, really impressive right now. I noticed this, and I had seen some people talking about it. The way the FedEx Cup is structured, I guess, you can make crazy moves and whatnot. Bryson is in first, as he should be. He's going to be in first when they get to Eastlake regardless, but he cannot lock it up. That's not how the FedEx works. So he can't alter his position at all.
Okay.
I'm sure he wants to keep it rolling. I'm not saying that, but he actually, unless I've misread, and I don't believe I have, please someone in Slack correct me if I'm wrong, he cannot move. Obviously, there's nowhere to go up, but he can't move down either. So this is practically a bye week in the sense, he's going to go to Eastlake with controlling his own destiny. He's going to be on the Ryder Cup team. He has absolutely nothing to play for. He's playing great, but that's the one guy I'm certainly out on.
Yeah, I would not. I'm not really going to play the guys that just saw massive price bumps in general. I wasn't going to play any Adam Scott last week. I'm not going to be playing any Bryson this week. I may have a sprinkle in if I'm putting 150 lineups into a $5 tournament, like I'll play a little bit, but I want to have an out here and there. But it's risky for me. That does not seem like an optimal play. And yeah, I'm with you. I have no problem with any of the other 5 10K plus guys. So
what do you make of Rose just in particular? Because you just mentioned the price bumps. He got one, but he is Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like okay. Rose is one of the, DJ is his own tier, but Rose is like in that second group of like, it's JT and Day and Brooks at this point. I guess Rory's still in there, but Rose is one of those dudes. He's one of that next group of guys.
Yeah.
So it's a little much. Like it looks like a lot, but I don't think it's crazy. Like if he was 10-4, like you wouldn't bat an eye at it. 11-2 is a little much, but I'm sure I'm going to have some. Justin Rose is awesome, and he's playing really well. He's having a great year.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that one random miscut a couple weeks back derailed the momentum in terms of maybe his sticker price and whatnot, but I have no problem with it. I think what we both recognize is when somebody gets a price bump out of their talent, where they fall in the talent gap. Like we see someone crash the party who doesn't belong there, especially if they're going to carry ownership, kind of like Tiger. I think he's the best example. It's not that he's overpriced. It's that you don't get an ownership discount when you play him either. So that makes it tricky.
Yeah, and maybe Bryson belongs to this part. Like it's certainly possible. He's a big deal prospect. He might be that good. It's just we haven't seen a ton of that. Like we've seen Justin Rose has been one of the 10 or 12 best guys for the last 20 years. Like we got a long body of work with Justin Rose being awesome at golf. So
Bryson certainly may end up being. I mean, he's shown nothing but talent here. Having said that, this is a spot where, again, I'll just keep repeating this. If he goes out and wins again, he gains absolutely nothing. I'm not saying he's not going to try, but
the guy, more distance in between himself and whoever's in second, though, if he does that.
I don't. So I believe that the way it is structured is if you are within the top 5 of the FedEx points after this week, you control your own destiny.
Okay.
So if he is, he will be in first. The other 4 guys, if they win at Eastlake, they win.
Okay. Yeah, I vaguely remember hearing that on broadcast last year when this was happening. So, yeah, we'll see.
Which sucks. I mean, not that I really care about the FedEx Cup, but he should, if he won this week, he should have clinched it. They really should do it differently, because that's ridiculously impressive if to win 3 straight, all the events. They really need to fix it. And giving someone a 10-stroke lead is not the way to do it. I know they floated that idea out there. That's a terrible idea.
I kind of don't hate that.
What? Really?
No problem. He's played better. Why not give him an advantage?
No, that's just stupid. Make it match play. That would be cool. Or do something. I don't know. Giving a guy a 10-stroke lead is just a dumb idea. That's something I would come up with, and then everyone would be like, that's a terrible idea. It is. I would think of something like that, and they would reject it.
Okay.
Just saying.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Moving on next here, dudes. We have Decky, who is maybe back. Tony Finau continues to play awesome. Your boy Spieth, my boy Day, nobody's boy Tiger, and Ricky rounding out that's our sort of 9K range. Really like Ricky. Probably going to go back to the well with Day. Certainly in some teams. That's more the if we're assuming the rough is forgiving kind of lineups, because Day can get himself into a lot of trouble. Obviously, Finau's hard to argue with, but man, that's just a lot of money. And then I don't know if Decky's going to do Decky stuff. I'm certainly going to try to buy some of that. What do you make of these guys?
So I think I'm with you on Ricky. I'm intrigued. I'm a Ricky guy. Spieth is the one who stood out for me. I have continuously bought him. Yeah. It's not paying off, but he's not killing me at this point. The putter has been better. He always seems to, something happens and it doesn't connect, but I really do think the game is trending upward. The ownership has
been mentally weak.
Yeah, I'm mentally weak. I sympathize with that. I just think you're getting a nice discount here, 9,400. Ownership won't be extreme. Definite buy spot for me. Day, no problem with it. I'm with you. I think that's probably where you get, the most bang for your buck in terms of just pure talent in this range. Finau, I'm not the one to really talk about. He's great. He's been playing great. There's no chance that I'm going to use him. If people want to use him, I totally get it. You've been getting paid off for a while now. Yep. I've been fading it for a while. It's just not going to happen. I will consistently fade Finau if he's priced above guys like Spieth and Day until I go broke or recognize that he belongs there. Decky's
the price tag is kind of like the Rose price tag last week, where it's like, he had the random missed cut, and it's wild that Jason Day is 9,300. If he had just been fine last week, wouldn't he be 10 plus too? I would think so, but
I do think that there's a small distinction where I felt a lot more confident about Rose coming back than Day, just in general, because he's Day, but at the same time, I think that you're still talking about someone with immense upside, and I don't feel overly concerned, even though it's not Justin Rose. Decky's the one I'm a little confused about what to do. It's a pretty big bump. If we're going to see that nuclear Decky, then of course you want to be interested. At the same time, not sure how much I'm really going to be able to have, just because we've mentioned a lot of guys already.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. Yeah, I think we've talked about every single play, and there's 15 people or so we just talked about. Kind of lukewarm on Bryson, definitely way under on Finau. I'm not touching Tiger, and everyone else, I'm like, it's fine.
It's tough. I mean, usually, and that's where I do get the advantage usually when you full fade a bunch of people, you can get over on basically everyone else. I'm not doing that this week, so I need to be extra careful about my exposures. Usually if you have 0% of so many guys, you can just kind of spray with the rest and know you're getting over. Not going to be the case for me this week. So I will have to be more cognizant of ownership and whatnot. And that's, we'll certainly be revisiting that tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to the next range, we got Rahm, Molly, Adam Scott.
Oh, this is a terrible range.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Fleetwood can't lay Phil. RCB is over 8 now. Reed, Webb, who like hold out Eagle to finish the second round to take the lead, and then just what the hell happened to him? That was
It was
insane.
bad.
Like it was like 11 strokes difference between the second and third round.
He had some issues on the weekend.
I was struggling a bit.
Yeah.
And Paul Casey's remains really cheap. And Billy Ho. God.
Billy Ho, yeah, with the WD last week, sinus infection. Those will get you. Man, this range is full of just tilting players. It's not even that they're not talented. It's just like, oh wow, Rom, Scott, Phil, Patrick Reed. I don't even know if we had mentioned. Just meh. I think Fleetwood. He was way more popular than I think we both thought he was going to be.
I tried to go nuts with him because I was really into it, and I was like, "Oh, great! I matched the field with like."
I
30.
almost came in under. Like I did not mean to do that. I expect him to be popular again. I mean, he didn't really get a price. It's pretty stagnant in terms of the price. He didn't kill anyone. He always scores well. You've talked about that in terms of Rover.
Had his bad round on the weekend as usual.
Yep. Yeah. No. He does his thing, and even that. I mean, he finished. I think it was birdie eagle birdie to get a large streak bonus. This is a range where I think I'm gonna mix and match. Cantlay's a guy that I was off of last week. I used him in cash, worked out perfectly. We both described that, and that's what you can do with a guy like that. It's very easy to middle. He wasn't bad, but in a tournament, it was nice to not have him, but he still gave us what we wanted in cash. He was bad around the green. He was bad putting. I'm buying more this week than I was last week. I think that maybe that dispels some of the ownership, and the irons are still really clicking. So I'm a lot more interest than I thought I would have in him specifically.
Yeah, I mean Patrick Cantlay is a really good player, and I don't know, I think he'll be very popular too. I think Cantlay and Fleetwood do stand out as the sort of best values here now, or just like, I mean Casey's the best value here, but like they've been Cantlay and Fleetwood have both been playing well and popular for a while, so I don't think they're not going to lose ownership this week. I think they'll probably both be pushing 20. I don't think there's not going to be anybody that's like 30-something% owned this week, but just because there's so many quality plays. But I do think these are going to be two of the more popular 20-ish% type guys.
I think that's pretty fair. I look at Adam Scott's probably where you're going to get the most leverage in terms of ownership. I don't really have a desire to go there. We're still in a range where they're all talented golfers. Phil, blah, RCB's overpriced. He was good last week. He was one of the reasons I salvaged. He had a big Sunday for me, and I was really heavy on him. I had him in cash. That's what did it. Wish he didn't bogey 18. That's another story. And then there's Casey. I'm not looking to play a ton of cash this week. If you're playing cash, I would strongly recommend using him. Some of his best quality is negated since there's no cut, but you're still getting a pretty damn good talent for flat 8K.
Yeah, it's just a nice price. It's always a nice price with him. It's crazy that it always happens like this. I don't know. It's been 3 years of Paul Casey is $600 less than he should be always.
Yeah.
And I get that a lot of that is because he is a low variance, low rover player, which means that like the range of outcomes is smaller. And so he's less likely to win. And DraftKings algorithm is largely based on Vegas odds. That's a major influencer. So Casey generally will have sort of lower Vegas odds than the quality of player he is, because his to win outright odds are not that high because he has a pretty tight range of outcomes. But that doesn't mean he's not favored to be one to finish somewhere in the 8 to 12 range. Like that's totally reasonable, and at $8,000 that's pretty wild. So
absolutely, and that's an important distinction, and it is very tough kind of abstract. We talk a lot about, where we rank guys and stuff, and it's like, where do you value a guy who can come in the top 10 50% of the time, but he's not winning? And then you have a couple guys who they miss cuts all the time, but they grab 2 wins a year.
Right.
It's different, and that is why Casey's so valuable, particularly in cash. You're just getting such consistency. Now, he's not I mean, Bryson probably surpassed Casey's win total forever at this point.
He did win earlier this year, though, right?
Yeah, he finally broke, but that was his first win it was a long time, I believe, since one of your fake Euro tournaments. So, it's I don't want to say it's arbitrary, but you have Ricky, you have Casey, you have some guys like that, very consistent, good golfers, world-class golfers, don't find the winner's circle as much as you would think for how good they are.
Yep. And that's actually something we were talking about earlier in the show that I think this is a good example of. What we're talking about right now is a good example of. When I said the thing about Jason Day, if he had been fine last week, he would have been more close to 11. It's kind of like when Rose missed a couple weeks ago. There's a bit of a distinction there, and I think I realized once I said it, it was like I don't feel as comfortable with Day as I did about Rose last week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because Jason Day is one of those guys who will just be awful and miss cuts, but will get several wins a year. Like Jason Day is amazing, but it's certainly a little bit risky with him.
Yeah,
Love
and I think
Rose
kind of like leads. If you're talking about the best of the Casey people,
yes, Rose is very consistent. Yeah,
very consistent, and Day is more. Even when he was at a height of his powers, you get a couple where you're just like, what was that? Yeah. What an awful week. And then all of a sudden, it's just nuclear Day.
It's what happens when you're awful off of the tee. Like the thing with Day, too, part of how he's been able to, like, he doesn't necessarily lose strokes off the tee because he hits the ball a damn mile. Like he is very long off of the tee. So it's not like Phil, who's hitting 270 into the trees. Day's hitting it 340 into the trees, or whatever. But that makes up for a lot. Like if you're in the shit, like it's nice to be closer to the hole. When you're punching out, it's nice to be able to reach the green. Yeah. Anywho, cool. That wraps up the 8K range. Leishman,
yeah,
a lot of him last week. He was fine.
Yeah, I had no problem with him.
Yeah,
he's just. It's very hard to gauge. You've always talked about him. He's chalk. He hits. He's undervalued. Sometimes he misses. Weird dude. I don't know where he really is in his year right now. He kind of had a big stretch and then he tapered off. It's been quiet for a while. I still think that I find him to be a value when he's in the sevens, even in a strong field like this. He was pretty solid last week. Didn't do anything spectacular, basically T20'd. And I always do think that in a stronger field, he is a threat to really make some noise and get some placement points, even in obviously a non-cut where it doesn't really matter how the guy plays in any given round. It's just the 72 holes.
Yeah. Do you think he gets any kind of ownership bump because of the fact that he won this event last year, even though it was not at this course?
Yeah,
I think some people will just see that. Yeah, I think so too. So that's a little scary, but
I hate stuff like that. There's nothing worse than like artificial. It's better when it's on a guy I don't like.
Right. No, it would be awesome if that was happening with. Yeah.
Tony. That's certainly possible. I'm sure. The higher up you go, the less you'll see that, of course. It's just a general rule of thumb. And I think this is where, for me, the field starts to thin. There's always a spot in every tournament. There are players down here. It's not like there's no one left, but I see a pretty distinct talent gap after this range. You get more into the guys you see, the Woodlands. Well, Stenson is down here. I don't know what to make of him.
Wait a minute. There's a notable exception to what you're saying here.
Yeah, but he's been bad.
He's been bad.
And it's tricky with. I'd like to actually get your thoughts because you're a big Stenson guy in general. What do you find it more concerning when the quote unquote more consistent guys have a rough stretch than say the polarizing day-esque golfers?
Yeah, I mean, it's not fun when
That's true.
it's weird. Stenson's like not. His game is kind of changing now. Like he was awful for a while last year, and then he pulled out he won at the Wyndham, but still won last year. Like he's been weird. But I will say lately, I got to look at what he did exactly last week. But lately, he has kind of been back to old Stenson, where it's like he plays fine. He's a super accurate off of the tee, really good iron player. Good with long irons. That's going to help here because he doesn't hit super far off the tee because he uses that 3-wood. But he just hasn't been putting. But he has been back to that. He had he had 3 doubles on Sunday or Monday rather yesterday on round 4. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Lost strokes on the green in every round. Lost almost 6 on the tournament. That's been the story with him lately. I mean, if he, whatever, we say this a lot, but if he were to break even or even gain 2 or 3 strokes, then he's right in it. So it could happen. We've seen Stenson putt before, but he's really struggling with it right now. That said, that $7,600 price tag, I'm gonna have to buy some.
Yeah, him and Usti gonna get us into trouble.
Ugh. Yeah. Usti ended up like 40th. That was a bummer because he had a great round 3, I think. It's like, oh yeah, Usti's here.
He threw in a couple late to get up there a little, but wasn't certainly what I was looking for.
No, not when I played 40% of it, dude. Usti and Rose were my highest exposures.
Yeah, I had a bunch of them with you. Again, it's not that I should have rephrased. There are talented guys here. For me, there's a glaring question mark on pretty much everyone, whether it's how good are they, their form, guys like Stenson. You don't see many where you're like, all right, I'm loading up. Grillo's down here. He was good last week.
Great on the weekend.
Yeah.
Amazing tee to green. Just couldn't putt the first 2 days and then started putting a little bit Sunday, Monday, and it was awesome.
He's been for a bad putter, he's had a really good putting year. No idea if he's found something like Webb or it's just variance. We'll see. I obviously don't know. And then your boy Bubba.
Yeah. Clear talent gap between Billy Ho, the tier with Billy Ho in it, and this shit tier with Bubba and Stenson,
Yeah, that's really what I was going for. Billy Ho, the Billy Ho tier and the Stenson tier. Yeah. Yikes. He was all right last week. This is a course I'm not sure how much he can do what he likes to do around it. Less par 5s is not a good thing.
Right.
If it's more of a technical course, it's not a good thing for him. So I'm taking my small Bubba victory from last week and kind of retiring that notion. I don't see that much here. Is there anyone that really stands out? I know we briefly touched upon a couple dudes.
Not really. I mean, is Noren?
Oh God.
You talked me mostly off of him last week, which was fine. He didn't really do anything, but I was definitely bummed about it a little bit at the end. I put Poulter in a couple lineups instead of Noren, which that was just stupid. I felt dumb about that. Like the second lock happened, it was like, oh, what's wrong with me? But
the thing about Noren for me was, and I'm certainly not trying to hedge this. This is genuinely what I thought was what it was going to look like if you got him right. And it was fine. He didn't kill you, but no one was like, oh, I'm so glad I used Noren this week. And that's kind of what I experienced with Uline a lot, where it's like I make a bold call on this guy, and if I get it right, I get nothing. And if I get it wrong, he's a disaster. So I'm not sure where the upside is. If this course is brutal, and I think there's a small chance that it could be really difficult, Noren for me in the Spieth, Reed, Scramble, short game lineups, I don't mind doing that. If it's a shootout, I want absolutely no part of him.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. So you don't want to be playing Norin in your
Lineups.
yeah.
Oh, Gary
Oh,
led the
geez.
field in irons last week. Just side note for Woodland. Shots gained approach, just smoking. The rest was more typical Woodland. So
He's really good, man,
he is. He's a good player.
for sure. Yeah, okay. Well, that's whatever about those guys. Then we've got another. Well, I mean, I don't mind some Louis. Don't mind Stanley or Grillo. Those are both similar players. Those are players you would put in lineups together for sure. Just like the super pure, super accurate guys. They're ones that probably are in better shape if it is playing a little bit harder because they're not going to miss. They're not going to miss fairways, and that's very important. Then there's kind of another drop off. Then we got Keegan and Kevin Na. Kevin Na has been like mega chalk the last couple weeks. I was not really expecting that.
Yeah, I dodged him last week. Luckily, he was just terrible.
Yeah.
This is Benny on again. He does, and we've talked about this throughout our shows. And I don't know if you share this opinion. For me, when you get in this range, give me one thing that the guy does great, and I'll work with that. I'd rather have someone like him he's an elite iron player. He really is. He can't do anything else, but when you can do that, you're always somewhat live to make some noise. Gained a bunch last week again, and he was fine.
Right. Yeah. No big deal. No harm, no foul. And he, again, Casey, Stanley, Grillo.
Yep.
Benny on is another one of those guys. Okay. And that's all the sevens. List and Wise and Hadwin. I had some Hadwin last week. Looked like that was finally paying off. I've been buying him a lot just because he's been crazy low owned lately.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can get super hot. Assuming he doesn't all of a sudden, he kind of faded over the weekend. I think, what did he end up finishing? 20th, yeah. So he had a bad Sunday, or Monday, rather. I keep saying that.
It was also huge packs, though. Like, it's worth noting, I don't have it in front of me, but guys, you lose like 8 spots with one stroke in some of these things. So he was in the mix. That was certainly a sharp call at the ownership that he came in at.
Yeah, and that was tough. That's what really kind of derailed my week. Ultimately, is like the guys that I was way overexposed to in Hadwin and JB were looking like they were in awesome shape. And then when you're 1% owned guy, that is what's separating you from everyone else and making your lineup, climb the leaderboards. When that guy falls apart, then you're screwed. It's like gonna go back fast, and that's kind of what happened to me. It just each day the money went down. Happens.
Yeah, that's never a good feeling.
Nope. And then are you buying then, as we get into the sort of the dumpster diving? Anybody down here? Jimmy Walker. Oh no, he's not here.
Yeah, no, Jimmy Walker is a fake man this week. Peter Uihlein, for a 1%er. I think for me, the real guy, if I do have to target someone in the 6-6s, would be Harmon. Mm-hmm. And it's you've outlined that. You can get a guy who can get nuclear with a putter. There's nothing that really indicates that he's going to play well, and I'm going to try to avoid this range as a whole. But again, same theory as Benny on. Give me a guy that can do one thing that good, and I'll take the plunge if I have to.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I like Harmon quite a bit. And same exact argument as Hadwin. I've been playing a lot of Harmon too. It's just like when they're on, those guys are really good players. Their strength is the putter. They haven't been putting well lately, but because they're such good putt, like when they are hot with the putter, like that's how you get the birdies. So they can put up big numbers, a lot of scoring, a lot of DFS scoring when they're feeling it. That kind of wraps it up. I mean, I don't want to play Scott Piercy or Keith Mitchell or Ryan Armour or Brendan Steele. Like, I'd just rather spend a couple hundred more and get some real players.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to make a case for Hadley, saying, pure iron stack. He's just been awful. Even with his irons are not good right now. It's not much down there. I know it's a non-cut, and unless you think for some reason that you need an extreme scenario up top, I would suggest omitting this bottom and let other people try to chase the one guy out of the 10 that we just named that's going to play pretty well.
Yep. Early indications are that CT Pan and Abraham Answer are going to be like super chalky.
Good.
That's an easy fade. Couple of them.
I like CT Pan in life, but not going there.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Some guy made fun of me on Twitter about how, I guess on the night before show, I said something about like last week about like don't use someone like Abraham Answer, which is like I meant that, like use real players. It's a real event. And he was like, because he was winning after round 3, and so this guy comes at me.
Oh yeah.
After 54 holes, like, pro tip: don't come at someone after 54 holes, because Abraham Answer was not on any winning tournament lineups. I'll tell you that much.
Abraham Answer, of course, not that it was a huge deal, but could have used a birdie on 18, and then he hit it into the rocks. Very frustrating. I lost some high stakes stuff head-to-heads by 0.5. Never fun, but yeah,
You had Answer cash?
What? No. I needed him to move Finau and them down in placement points with a birdie. No.
Right.
No.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Pro tip: don't use Answer in cash. That's an extra pro tip. Yeah, it's tough. These guys, we've talked about that. Will one of them do what Answer did? Not that that was even a death sentence. Of course, it can happen, but on the whole, you don't want to target guys who excel in soft fields and pad their stats in events with all of the best players in the world, literally all of them.
Yeah, because those guys, like, they can do it for against bad people. Yeah, exactly. They just don't. These guys just don't. A lot of these web types, like, they just don't have the firepower to hang with the real dudes. Like, it's tough to. It's not easy. Golf is hard, right?
So they tell me. Yeah, I think we're winding down with golf right now. It's not the best time of the year. No. I don't like non-cuts. I'm more excited for NFL.
Yeah. NFL starts this weekend, man. Or
Thursday, yeah. Thursday, you could win $1 million. You just have to be unique in a tournament, choosing between 2 teams and 200,000 of your closest friends. I'm interested to see, like, if you could even broach a unique lineup, barring doing, something even remotely feasible. Probably not. I'd have to assume no, right?
Oh, wow. I didn't even see that. There's a $2.5 million Millie Maker. Hey, that's hilarious. In Showdown. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that's one. I actually had a lot of success in the NBA playoff showdowns. Like, I started, you're chopping every time, and it's like, but I won 3 of those tournaments. Like, one time it was for 27 grand. These are 100 grand at first. It was like, one time I got 27 grand out of it. One time I got 5 grand out of it. One time I got $800 out of it because I chopped it with like 300 people. But there are ways to be a little bit weird, and I think it's worth. I think it's worth trying out. You're just kind of
Thursday. I definitely want to talk about that because I remember you had that run in NBA Showdown, and I want to get your thoughts on, like, is it better to just completely flip what you want to do and actually just focus on? Is your EV better on just making a purely less dupe team, or do the plays actually matter in that situation?
I think your EV is going to be higher if you're focusing on not being duped. So you could do, like, an NBA, you could do. I would make half of my teams. I would set the cap limit at like 46.5, which, like, I would never ever do that in, like, a golf tournament or like a real slate. It's a single game, so you're just trying, and then making sure you hit a script. Like, you got to look through and don't play. I wouldn't, it's like you couldn't play both of the $2,000 backup. You can't play like David West and Jordan Bell together, right?
Yeah,
they're gonna eat into each other. Same idea with football. I think, I don't know. Whatever. It's Showdown. It'll be fun. I'm certainly gonna play a bunch because we got football coming.
How many teams you think are gonna have Carson Wentz on it?
In that there will be some.
Oh yeah,
maybe 1%.
That would be a couple thousand people. If it's for
he's got a Q tag, man. Looks like
the Foles Wentz unique stack.
Yeah, that would be a tough script. That's one you don't want to do.
You probably shouldn't do that. But yeah, no, I think we certainly are going to be talking about that Thursday because I want to get your thoughts on that in particular. I know it's weird doing the one game thing. I think there might be some edge there if you're cognizant of what you're doing in terms of what we're going to see when you have a player pool this limited.
Yeah, it's hard. I think one of the hard things about the showdowns is like it's really an MME kind of thing. Like you want to just be spraying weird combos and just hope, you are kind of hoping to get lucky. That's what's going to have to happen to win a tournament. So it's a big MME thing, but you also need to be making sure that you're following a particular script and you're not playing players that don't. So you can kind of like, I don't know, like you can crunch them and then go back through and make sure that nothing weird has happened and like edit stuff, or you can make them by hand. We'll see what happens, but yeah, it should be fun. I will have, so again, housekeeping stuff. I will have my NFL projections. The first run of those will be out later this afternoon, so those should be up on the site by tonight. We'll probably talk about those a little bit during tomorrow's show. Maybe start to look forward to a little bit of NBA, see what happens. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Golf is kind of winding down. There's no golf next week. Then there's the Tour Championship, which, like, who cares for DFS? I mean, I'll play some, but it's 30 people. Then there's a week off, and then the swing season starts. So golf doesn't really stop until it's stopped for the month of December. But
yeah, we'll talk Ryder Cup in there. We'll do some fun stuff.
I don't watch that stuff. Like, I don't know.
Ryder Cup's fun.
I've never watched it.
It'll be cool. I mean, Europe on European soil is very tough to beat. A lot of people think that the U.S. is going to win. So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm sure DraftKings will find a way to have us spend money on it.
They'll figure something out. But yeah, I think just going forward, we got definitely tomorrow talk about more NFL projections. Then Thursday, we've got the showdown slate to talk about. Friday, we'll be sprinkling on college football, getting ready, another slate. It's going to get easier, people. I know it's not fun when you have to balance how long did your guy play as opposed to everything else, because it's just really weird with these 60-point spreads, 50-point spreads. It also doesn't help that I got it all wrong, but we'll try to correct that. We'll see what happens next week.
It happens sometimes. You can't win all the time, Nobody's ever had a 94% win rate, right?
It's debatable. Don't believe everything you read on the Twitter sphere.
It's true. Yeah, you should not. Great. And also, we have potential. We are brainstorming about something in the works with a certain fella for an NFL show.
Definitely.
And yeah, we're planning on doing that. So we'll let you know when we get the details ironed out there. What?
Last thing I was going to say, we are trying to make this show fun. We're going to do some fun stuff on Mondays since it's Tuesday. We're not doing it this week, but we're going to definitely have some stuff for the audience, a little interactive, some fun, get some into take some small breaks from DFS, have some fun about just random props, debates, scenarios. So yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Like 6-7 hours a week, so got to fill some airtime.
Absolutely, and I do love to pose bizarro world questions, as you may or may not know, audience.
Yep. And he's really fun. Like when we all met each other that weekend, we went to Connor's parents' beach house. It was most of the week was spent like discussing, whether a kangaroo with a gun beats a hippo with a spear or what, just a lot of silly stuff like that. Really fun. Great. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. This has been From A to B, presented by Awesemo.com. Thanks, Josh, for producing. And you should check out some of our content. We got a bunch of cool stuff behind the paywall on the website. My projections will be out later today for both NFL and what's the other sport? PGA.
Baseball? Oh, PGA.
Yeah, baseball's already up. And yeah, we'll check you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah.